Hi, I'm Robert.
And I'm Evelyn.
And this is Talking About It.
And we're really getting in it with the book, but first we have a couple announcements. One, we're recording this on August 1st, so happy Taylor Swift Day. We're living for the hope of it all. It is now a Taylor Swift podcast. The look I am getting from my father says it all. But seriously, we're recording on the 1st of August, and a couple days ago was the 29th of July. Pop quiz! What's so important about it?
What?
Taylor Swift. No, I'm kidding. That's when Tolkien published the Fellowship of the Rings.
Okay.
For the first time. So we launched our TikTok! You didn't know about this. I forgot to tell you. We launched a TikTok, guys. Where we're going to be talking about TikTok. We're going to be doing better on social media, even though we keep saying that every time and it doesn't actually happen. But this time I promise we're going to get better at social media because we have our TikTok now.
So, I thought you were going to talk about the marriage between Prince Charles and Lady Diana.
Oh.
Because that's July 29th.
Oh. Lots of things on that day.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Cool. But yeah, for those of you who are lost by my Taylor Swift joke, she has a song called August, and it's incredible, and I highly suggest you all listen to it. And now back to our regular programming. So we're talking about the Siege of Gondor. Should we get into predictions before we talk about what this was?
Oh, yeah. So, what were your predictions about this chapter?
Okay. So, like you said, it was the Siege of Gondor. I wrote them down.
Shocked. I'm shocked, I tell you.
So this first one, we'll argue about it when we get there if I should get points. That Rohan will show up just in the nick of time. I predicted Faramir shows up. And then I predicted Merry and Pippin would reunite this chapter. Specifically this chapter.
So you're definitely wrong with one of them.
I'm definitely wrong with one of them. One I'm definitely right on. And the other one I will argue about. I will argue for a point for myself.
No. I'm already telling you, no. Okay.
We'll get there.
So, Siege of Gondor. This
was a hard chapter.
It's always a difficult chapter for me to read through, especially when I already know the material so well.
Okay, yeah, you were mentioning that. So you had a hard time reading it because you know the material so well. I had a hard time processing it more in one, things Alexa Play Daddy Issues by Beyonce, for starters. And then the battle, while I enjoyed reading it, I was trying to process in my mind, how am I going to talk about it on the podcast? And I just couldn't. I enjoyed it. I have no idea how I'm going to talk about it. I am so unprepared for this. I'm prepared for the first half. But the second half,
So, before we really get started here, so Pippin and Gandalf are talking.
Yes.
And they see 5, quote, bird-like forms greater than eagles.
After a breakfast disappointment.
But there is more description of that in chapter 6 of book 5.
Okay.
So in 2 more chapters, but I'm going to go ahead and share it with you now.
Okay.
On October 14th, 1954, in a letter that Tolkien wrote to Ronna Bear in response to the questions, are they riding pterodactyls?
Interesting.
Tolkien answered as only Tolkien can. He says, yes and no. I did not intend the steed of the Witch King to be what is called a pterodactyl, and is often drowned out that way. Often drawn out that way. But obviously, it is a pterodactyl, but I wasn't thinking of a pterodactyl when I wrote it, basically, is what he's saying.
He reinvented the wheel. Or he invented the pterodactyl.
Well, and also...
Sorry.
And also, at this time, when he's writing this, dinosaurs became a
Oh
big,
yeah, this was when dinosaurs were a big deal. There was a
deal.
lot of discoveries with dinosaurs.
Yeah, because I mean, it was about this time was when the fossil footprints of dinosaurs were first found.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so I just thought that was interesting. I just happened to come across that because I always, I always do my cross references with his writing.
Which is kind of fun because we're going to be doing a recording about the Beowulf dragon in a moment. Coming up with that episode coming out after this episode comes out, and the prevailing theory is that ancient people found fossils of dinosaurs, and that's where a lot of dragon mythology comes from.
And it's also interesting
just
because
one of the many ones.
Yeah, because he even Tolkien also goes on in the letter to talk about isn't it interesting that even though I wasn't thinking about it, we have found a way of the last survivor of an older geological age appear in in a third Earth, third Earth, Middle Earth, third age. Yep.
Yeah.
So
maybe Tolkien was right all along, and our history is just wrong.
Well, I'd agree with that. So let's get on with it. So Denethor has accepted Pippin's loyalty,
yeah,
and has even appointed him to be his
squire
kind of thing.
Which I wrote down. Pippin gets a makeover. Both Pippin and Merry get like massive glow ups, and it's kind of heartbreaking because they're getting glow ups, but they're both so depressed about why they're getting glow ups that they can't even appreciate it.
Right. And then and so one of Denethor's first questions to Pippin is, "Can you sing?"
Right, and I actually wrote down this quote. So basically, Pippin says, like, he only knows, like, silly songs and songs not really fit for a hall, and that hobbits don't sing about anything more gloomy than a rainy day. And he says, "And why should such songs be unfit for my halls, or for such hours as these?" And that hit me hard, because I would say in our current year, 2022, things are kind of dark and grim, with everything. And yeah, like, why not have something silly? Why not enjoy August by Taylor Swift?
But also, what's interesting here is
I brought it up again.
Also, if you're trying to tick off something for another podcast, you're going to get in trouble.
No, this is just me loving Taylor Swift.
So, I mean, we talk about Pippin kind of feeling out of place and so forth, but think about this: Pippin is waiting on somebody watching them eat, and he can't.
Yeah.
That's hell.
Yeah.
That's hell for Pippin.
It is.
Pippin has found himself in hell.
It is his hell.
Yeah, so he's been sent to the livery. He's given a weapon. He's got a chainmail shirt on him.
He meets up with his BFF.
With the quilted undercoat. He's given a helm with small raven-like wings and a silver star on it.
And another thing that he says that I didn't write this down, so it's not going to be an exact quote, but he says it's like he should really, in another time and place, he would have found this very grand that he was dressed this way, but this was no play. That's what he says. This was no play. And dang, both Pippin and Merry going deep.
Yeah, and it's also written in here, gloom began to wear on his spirit because for Pippin, this was a big deal. And he's out looking for food and drink.
Yeah.
Himself. And it even mentions, he's kind of forgotten what it's like to be a hobbit.
Yeah. Yeah, he even like acknowledges he's been on such a magical and fantastical and quite disturbing journey. And something that Gandalf kind of says a little bit later is, you know not to get into mischief because you have brought all of this on yourself, sir. And it's like, again, I feel that as a millennial.
But then he, hears the shuddering cry of 5 creatures chasing men upon horses, including Gondor, the White Rider.
Yeah, we have these black figures, and then we have the White Rider that's slashing them down. Blah, blah, blah. Symbolism. We can move on. It's very obvious symbolism from Tolkien right here.
Yeah, and and Faramir's face is one of those who you can tell he has fear or anguish
Yeah.
about it. Because, he's out doing this, he's doing what he needs to do, what he's supposed to do, and he hasn't had real time to grieve for his brother.
Yeah, that's true.
And so that kind of weighs on him as well.
And not only does he not have time to grieve for his brother, but his dad just goes, I wish you were dead instead. Can we get into this now?
No.
That's where we're at?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
But Faramir has an air of high nobility.
Yes.
He's like the old kings of men, the men of Middle Earth when they returned during the Second Age. And he already knows about the hobbits. He knows what happened
to the hobbits and their journey thus far.
Right. Yeah, he knows what's going on with Frodo and Samwise.
Right.
And so that news gets reported.
Right. He's reporting everything, and Gandalf is literally on the edge of his seat, clutching his pearls. He is on high alert. Pippin's like, what do I say? Do I say nothing? Do I say something? Do we talk about Frodo? Are we not supposed to talk about Frodo? What are we doing? And it's just, it's glorious. It's the tension. Palpable.
And you talked about Denethor even states that he wished Faramir and Boromir's faces were changed.
Yeah.
Gondorf gets in his face.
Yes, Gondorf starts like verbally slapping him around, like really going for it. Because again, Alexa, play daddy issues. Like, oh my god, I hate this man. I have not hated anyone in this book except for the guy with the pony that like abused Bill. I have not hated someone since. And this is like on par with animal cruelty, man. Like, this is harsh. This is terrible. Insert community meme. Yeah. But like, my god.
And then we have this back and forth between Denethor and Gondorf, and then Denethor finally tells Faramir to go rest.
Yeah, he's like, just be gone, just rest. I'm glad you're fine. I guess, maybe, sure.
And he kind of hints at, well, I'm going to be going out again.
Yeah.
Because, but if I don't return, think better of me.
Yeah.
So.
And it's like, oh my god, I wanted to start crying. Like, what the heck? Like, jeez Louise. Like, I can't even, like, articulate how much this bothered me. Like, because, okay, this is where it's coming from for me. So I am queer, and I am in the queer community, and I know so many queer people who have no relationship with their parents. I am very grateful to you and Mom for being so accepting of me and my friends, but I know so many people who have been kicked out of their homes, who have been completely isolated from their families, who are just every shade of the alphabet soup, and that their own family cannot accept them or have kicked them out or wished ill upon them. And it breaks my heart. And that's where that's coming from with me, where I'm seeing so much, like, I'm not calling Faramir queer or anything. I'm saying I'm finding a lot of what in my life I see as being mirrored here.
Yeah, mirrored.
And it gets me so me so upset thinking about my friends that have been basically, like, psychologically tortured by their parents, and I guess I'm, like, putting it onto Faramir a little bit, but it's like he's literally being psychologically abused by his father.
Right.
And it's really upsetting to me.
So, all right, let's get back to the topic.
Okay.
So Denethor is in mail and even has a sword already on underneath his robe, and he's ready to go do it. He's but also in here is where we get a little reminding about the Witch King.
Yes.
So Gandalf says, he is not, he would not be killed by a hand of man.
Right.
And it's like, well, what? And he's kind of like, what does that really mean?
Which I think of the memes online about it,
Well,
but we're not there yet.
But he says, hidden from the wise is the doom that awaits him. So Gandalf knows he's not going that the Witch King's not going to survive.
Yeah.
But nobody has foreseen how that's going to happen.
Gotcha. Including the Witch King. And the Witch King's like, ha ha ha, no man can touch me, so bye-bye. And he's got some arrogance about him already. Like, I'm already, like, sensing that arrogance about him. Yeah. And that's a fatal flaw, man.
Yeah, so he is known as, the Witch King is known as the Lord of Barad-dûr, which is the Dark Tower during the Second Age.
Okay.
He's the king of Agmar. Agmar, at this point in Middle Earth, is a heartbreaking, cold, and barren land.
Okay.
It wasn't like that at one time.
Okay.
But it's been that way since the end of Second Age.
Gotcha. Okay. So I do have a question about the Witch King, and I don't know if this is an appropriate time to answer that or if this will be spoilers.
Okay.
So I know that all of the, or at least I believe I know that all of the Nazgul were all kings at one point, because that was where, like, the ring, because they got the rings of men and they were all given to kings. Why is the Witch King considered the Witch King while the others are just the Nazguls, and
he was
the leader?
Already the Witch King before he got the ring.
Oh, okay. So is that why he's the leader? Because he has more power?
Right.
Okay, so what made him the Witch King then?
I don't recall.
Okay, we'll get into it later.
But he already had that
title and that kind of
that title. Well, and also,
renown.
So, Sauron gave him basically the keys to the Dark Tower too.
Okay.
So it's not only having been the Witch King,
mm-hmm.
but he was obviously the favor.
Okay.
Because becomes the steward of that tower.
Okay. So he's already so was it the ring that corrupted him, or was he already starting to be corrupted when the ring was given to him? And if that's the case, why the frick frack paddywhack did they give him the ring? Sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole right now. Okay, answer one question first. Was he already corrupted before getting the ring?
I don't recall, but your other point is, who doesn't deserve the first ring more than anyone else other than someone who's already corrupted?
Yeah, but I always assumed the elves or the angel people, whatever, made the rings, right? Sauron was the only one that only made the one ring. Everyone else made the other rings. So why would they give it to someone corrupt?
Okay, so hold on here.
That's I don't want to get political, but that's
hold on.
Okay.
So yes.
Or am I just crazy?
The elves made them.
Yes.
And the elves turned over all the ones they made to Sauron, except for the 3 rings for the elves.
Oh, so Sauron was the one that gave out the rings to the...
Yes.
Did he also give them out to the dwarves as well?
Yeah. The only rings that he did not give out were the 3 for the dwarves.
The elves, which is why they were not corrupt.
Correct.
That makes more sense. I feel like we talked about that a little bit, but I had forgotten.
But because of where they were forged and how they were forged, there's still a connection.
Okay.
And that's why Gandalf doesn't use his. That's why Galadriel really doesn't use his. That's why hers. That's why Aaron doesn't really use his.
Okay.
Because
there's still some connection there.
There's still some connection there, but yet their rings also still convey a little power to them.
Okay. Even when they don't use it.
Right.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense, because I was about to get really upset for a second.
And we're told that that Carn Erdis has been taken. Now, Carn Erdis is an island in the middle of the river. Okay. It's 10 miles in length. And from the air, from the mountains, from afar, it looks like a giant ship on the water.
Okay.
So, and it's here that was somewhere along that island were the only places to get from shore to shore because
Mm.
the water was so swift, so deep, so tough
Okay.
that they had the only bridges.
Mm.
So when they find out that it's fallen, they know
They're
the borders broke.
the borders broke. Okay. Yeah. Because I will say my only note at this point is the battle begins, and then I have no more notes. I just read it and I was like, okay.
Right, yeah. So I want to mention that the name of the island means ship of foam.
Okay.
So
And that's something we've talked about before with like the foamy waters.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. Cuz yeah, it was a battle. The battle was going poorly for the good guy. Well, the men.
right. So there is no way other than reading you what's word for word for you to understand
The battle.
what's going on.
Yeah, there's really no way
So
to
so
describe it.
we're going to kind of skip over the battle itself.
Yeah,
We encourage you to go read this
definitely read
chapter.
it.
But there are a couple of things here.
Okay.
There's a lot. There's some back and forth.
Okay.
I mean, it looks like
There is some back and forth.
yeah,
There's some moments of hope, some moments of despair.
right there. It looks like the men of Gondor are getting completely ran over,
Yeah.
and suddenly the prince.
The Prince of Rohan.
No, well, he's not called the Prince of Rohan.
Oh, then who's called the Prince?
He's the Prince of. I don't see it in my notes.
Well, some prince shows up.
Well, he's in charge of a principality which is part of Gondor.
Oh, okay.
So he is
So it's still Gondor people.
yeah. So
Okay.
he's a
Okay.
prince, really by
So
title only.
so quite literally the old English like a prince of a principality.
Right.
It's a literal. Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense.
But they're the one. Those are who the Swan Knights belong to.
Oh,
So
that's
they
right.
suddenly show up.
Yeah, so they show up
And are
and help
able to
out.
give some reprieve.
Yeah.
And so, but darkness after this first
Mm-hmm.
siege, foray, whatever you want to call it.
It's a siege.
Afterwards, darkness is keeping watch
Mm-hmm.
over the city, and this darkness is so dark, even during the daytime, they can't see nearly as far from the towers as they used to. So they have no
Pippin makes
flipping idea what's going on.
yeah,
out there.
Pippin makes a few remarks, being like, "Is it always like this?" And they're like, "Nope." Ha 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 ha.
Right, and so the Nazgul cause a disorderly retreat.
Okay.
Also, and even some horse soldiers from Southron, which is under Salamon.
Saruman.
Saruman.
Salamon.
Salamon.
That's isn't that from like the manga fairy tale?
I don't know. And then this is where the Swan Knights show up to help that orderly withdrawal.
Okay.
Help them become. But I think it's interesting here is that the Nazgul do not keep pursuing because, as what Tolkien writes, is they are not yet ready to face the white fire.
Which is Gandalf, right?
Which is Gandalf,
okay.
His staff, and his ring.
Okay.
We'll find out later.
Yeah.
Because
I do want to point out, pre-recording, like a couple days ago, we were talking about the rings, and he just goes, yeah, with Gandalf and his ring, and I'm like, what? And I totally forgot we had already talked about it, and I was like, spoilers, and Dad's like, no, you're just an idiot. And yeah, I was. I'll admit to that. I just totally forgot he had the ring.
and of course, Faramir becomes wounded by a dart.
Okay.
Now, the reason this is significant is a dart is considered an evil person's tool. Right?
Okay.
It's like you shoot a dart out of a dart pipe.
Okay.
You know, throw them. It's like a shot.
Right.
I mean, even though in D&D you throw them, which I don't know. It's like, ooh, there's a target. I'm going to throw it. Well, get that whole 1 to 2 points of damage.
So we're not going to go into it, but it brings me a very negative stereotype that was prevalent in his time of indigenous people? Question mark?
No. It's not just his society. It almost worldwide. Darts are considered, they're considered sinister. Their use is considered sinister.
Okay.
Because it's something in secret. It's something you do
Okay.
underhandedly.
Okay.
Right? So he's wounded by a dart.
Okay.
And the only way a dart can make any real impact is it being poisoned.
Right.
And that's the other reason.
Mm-hmm. I just know Looney Tunes just recently got in trouble and they've been talking a lot about Looney Tunes portrayal of stuff, and that's just why that was in my mind at that time.
I'm so tired of cancel culture.
It's necessary sometimes.
So he's wounded by a dart. And then we have him getting into the tower. Denethor finding out that how bad he's off.
Mm-hmm.
And while that's happening, the orcs are digging in.
Yes.
They're digging trenches. And at first, the men in the tower, in the town, in the city, are going, how stupid is that?
Mm-hmm.
But as they continue to build a trench and build a trench and build a trench and build another trench, and then start bringing up siege machines and stuff like that. Then it's like,
yeah, and you can definitely see Tolkien's World War I influences here with the trenches.
Oh, I'm really going to get to that here at the end.
Okay.
But the fading light at this time, the orcs are digging in, and they're also laughing. The men in Minas Tirith are also laughing because they're like, shoot your catapults all day at our walls. You'll never do anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
What do? They flip them over the walls, full of pitch and fire to catch them. And then, if that's not bad enough, let's create some horror, and let's catapult the heads of all the people, all your friends and family members that we.
It's a horrifying image. Yeah, it's absolutely abhorrent. It's horrifying.
And then can you imagine while all this is happening, the Nazgul are circling over the city. I mean,
it's got to be creating chaos.
Chaos.
Isn't the
dread,
word?
Fear.
Yeah, just everything is awful. Everything is awful.
So, and then on top of all that, we have Faramir, who's loved by all.
Yes.
Has been
except his dad
has been wounded by been poisoned.
Yes,
he's been wounded by an underhand trick.
Yes.
But now we see Denethor's true love for Faramir.
Okay.
And he has Faramir brought to him, and he sits beside him the whole time. And what Tolkien writes is that Denethor grew old before Pippin's eyes. So, he became from being that leader of men to just looking like a poor old man who's incapable of doing anything else other than grieve his life.
Yeah.
And because of this, Gondor takes charge. Pippin runs down and tells him what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because Denethor releases Pippin from his duty. And then drums.
Yep.
Drums. Now, in the movie, it's not just drums. It's giant trolls playing these huge drums.
Is this the thing in the movie that got me confused?
I don't know.
Well, one of the parts. The battle that wasn't in the book. Was that the siege, or was that something else? That was something
That's
else.
the siege.
That is the siege that was in the second movie?
Right, yeah. And it is in the book because it even mentions, not even in a whole sentence, that the Ophalons are there.
No, but I mean, in the second book, in Two Towers, it wasn't in the Two Towers book. That's what I'm saying.
It wasn't supposed to be in the Two Towers book.
Yeah, but it was in the Two Towers movie. That's what I mean.
Because
It got. That's what I'm.
they moved stuff around
What
in the movie.
I am trying to articulate is, was this the battle that had me confused?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Because remember, the movies didn't end where the books ended.
No, I know that.
And they threw parts in there because we know what we know right now is also that because Tolkien kept a calendar of what was going on,
yeah,
which he called the scheme.
Yeah.
About this time is when Frodo's been captured.
Yeah.
And so we get Denethor going up to the tower.
Yeah.
And we see this faint light.
Mm-hmm.
And then we hear him rush down, tell him to get Faramir together, and we're going into the house.
Right.
And bring plenty of firewood. It is speculated that he was looking into a stone.
Okay.
You know, one of the
Palantirs.
You know, one of the Palantirs. And he sees Frodo captured.
Mm.
That's the speculation. That's
Okay.
the speculation most of us have.
Wait, Gandalf?
No, Denethor.
Denethor. Oh.
And that's why he becomes disheartened.
Okay.
Says, you know, get Faramir. Let's go to the house.